Hi, this is Michelle. In this section, you will learn about linear equations and rational equations. First, you will learn about polynomials and polynomial equations and rational equations, how to solve linear equations, how to solve rational equations, and finally, how to classify equations as identity, conditional equation, or inconsistent equation. Now let's think about the second example. If you look at this one, we have denominators, but both of them are numbers. So even though we have fractions here, this is still polynomial equation. But it doesn't matter polynomial equation or rational equations. Whenever you have a fraction in your equation, you need to find out least common denominator. So first, let's think about least common denominator quickly. Least common denominator, which is LCD, is exactly same as least common multiples. So for example, if you have those two numbers 2 and 3, as you can see, there's no common factor, right? And in this case, to find out the LCD, simply just multiply those two numbers times 3, which is 6. The first case, if there's no common factor, then multiply the number. Second case, if you have 1/2 and 1/4, then as you can see here, 4 is a multiple of 2, right? So in this case, then multiple is your least common denominator. So second case, if there is a multiple, then the number is the least common denominator. Third case, if you have 6 and 9, as you can see, we have common factor of 3 here, right? So whenever you have any common factor, first break down the numbers. We have 2 times 3 for 6 and 3 times 3 for 9. And then check if there is any common factor. As we know, we have 3. And then multiply that common factor 1. And then whichever the leftover factors, so in this case we have 2 and 3. So if you multiply them all, then it will be 18. So this will be your least common denominator. So which means if there is common factor or common factors, then multiply the common factor or common factors only once, then multiply the rest factors. And actually this is exactly same even when you have variables on your denominator. But anyway, let's go back to the problem. So now because we have 4 and 3, if we check the LCD of 4 and 3, because 4 and 3 we do not have any common factor, just multiply those two, then it will be 12. So once you find out the least common denominator, we write your given equation with the common denominator in exactly same form, like this. And then keep your original numerator, x plus 2, x minus 1, and the last term on your right side, this is 2 is same as 2 over 1. So you can just put 2 on the top. Because if you write it this way, then as you can see, these two equations are not exactly same. So now you will compare your denominators. Originally you had 4 for the first term, but now you have 12, which means you multiply by 3 here. If you look at the second term, because originally we have 3, now we have 12, so we know we multiply by 4 here. So multiply by 4 on your numerator. Last term, because we had 1, so we have to multiply by 12 to get to 12. So this is what it is. So once you figure out all the factors, you have to multiply to your numerators. Then you can multiply by 12 everywhere. So basically you can cancel out all the denominators because this is equation. So then we can rewrite your given equation as numerators only, which is 3x plus 2 minus 4x minus 1 equals 24. So now you have exactly the same format as the previous ones. Do the same step. Distribute your number in front of the parentheses, so here, and then combine the like terms on the same side. Here we have 3x minus 4x, which is negative x, and also we have like terms of the constant, positive 6 plus 4, which is positive 10 equals 24. And then because we have constant on the left side, we will move this out, add subtraction, so eventually you will have negative x equal to 14. So now if you look at the left side, because we have negative, which means negative 1. So you will divide it by negative 1. So once you have this one, we can cancel out negative 1. So you will have x on the left side equals negative 14 on your right side. And this will be your solution. So again, or sometimes you can see this word inside of the set notation. This is example 2. So if you look at this problem and compare to the previous one, the biggest difference between the previous one and this one is the x on your denominator. Because of that, this is not a polynomial equation anymore. This is a rational equation. But again, it doesn't matter if it is polynomial equation or rational equation. Whenever you have denominators, you have to find out least common denominator of your denominators. So we have least common denominator of 2x and 3x. But when you have expression on your denominator, if you have only one term for each, then this is pretty simple case. Simply just think about LCD of number part, LCD of the variable part, which means LCD of 2 and 3 is 6, LCD of x and x is x. So in this problem, our least common denominator is 6x. So there we have same process. So now you will rewrite this equation with our least common denominator 6x, and then keep your original numerators. Then compare the denominators. 2x times 3 is 6x, so multiply by 3 for the first term. And 3x times 2 is 6x, so multiply by 2 for the second term. And 3 times 2x is 6x, so you will multiply by 2x to third term on your right side. So now because we multiply all the factors we need, then cancel out the denominator. So now we have 21 minus 10 equal to 44x. And if you combine those two like terms, it is 11 equal to 44x. And previously I mentioned I'd like to have x on the left side, number on the right side, but this problem is totally opposite. In this case, easiest fix is exchange your left side and right side. And when you're exchanging those two sides, you don't have to change anything. Just keep it as is and just exchange the side by side. So now because we have 44x equals 11 divided by the coefficient of x, which is 44, then we will have x equals 11 over 44. We can simplify dividing by 11. X equal to 1/4. But as I mentioned, because this is rational equation, now you have to check the solution. And the reason why we have to check the solution is just because of the denominator. So easiest way to check the solution is just check the solution with each denominator with variable. In this problem, we have two denominators with x. First one is 2x and second one is 3x. So to check if this solution is okay or not, all you have to do is just plug in your solution to your x value, which is the first one is 2 times 1/4. And when you are checking with the denominators, the reason why we are doing this is what? We don't want to have 0 for our denominator. So you don't even have to check the number. All you have to do is check if it is 0 or not. 2 times 1/4 is not equal to 0, so this is okay. Second one, 3x, and x is 1/4. And 3 times 1/4 is not equal to 0, so this is okay. So now finally we can say the solution of this equation is 1/4. Or if you want to use the set notation, you can write this way. Okay, the next example. Again, because we have x on the denominator, this is a rational equation. And we have to find out least common denominator of x minus 3 and 2. But if you look at this denominator, previously we had only one term for the denominator with variables, so we just think separately. But once you have 2 or more terms on your denominator, you have to remember whole thing is 1. You cannot separate those denominators, which means in here x minus 3 is 1. So you cannot separate x and negative 3. So when you are thinking about common factor of those two denominators, you have to check if you have x minus 3 in other denominator. Obviously, we do not have x minus 3 for 2. So there is no common factor between x minus 3 and 2. So all you have to do is multiply those two denominators, and 2 times x minus 3 will be our least common denominator. So So now we write this 2 times x minus 3 equal to 2 times x minus 3 minus 2 times x minus 3 and put x and 3 and 1 here. And then compare the denominators. First denominator we multiply by 2, so multiply by 2. Second denominator same, we multiply by 2, so multiply by 2. Third denominator we have x minus 3 multiply, so you have to multiply by x minus 3. And then multiply by 2 times x minus 3 everywhere, so we can cancel out the denominator. So now we have 2x equal to 6 minus x minus 3. You don't have to write 1 here. And then because we have parentheses, distribute negative 1 in front of it. So negative x, negative, negative, positive, so positive 3. And then combine the like terms. So we have 6 and 3, which is 9 minus x. So now because we have x term on the right side, add x and add x here. And we have 3x is equal to 9. So divided by 3, right? So divided by 3, divided by 3, then x is 3. So again, we have to check the solution because this is a rational equation, but when you are checking what? Check with denominators. So the denominators that we have variable is only one kind, which is x minus 3. So if you plug in 3 here, we will have 3 minus 3. And oh, what happened? This is what? 0, right? So even though we found x equals 3, but this solution make our denominator 0, so it cannot be our solution. And do we have any other solutions? No. So the solution should be no solution. So as you can see, sometimes when you are solving rational equations, even though you can find the value of x, but some of them or sometimes all of them won't work because it will make your denominator 0. So checking part is really important when you are solving rational equations.